The cafe was warm, softly lit, and filled with the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked bread. Yet none of that warmth reached her. She stood near the entrance for a moment too long, clutching the strap of her worn handbag, her eyes scanning the room with quiet hesitation. Conversations buzzed around her, laughter, clinking cups, the low hum of people who belonged. But every table she glanced at seemed to turn away from her before she could even gather the courage to ask. Her dress was simple, slightly faded, and her shoes carried the dust of a long day. When she finally approached an empty chair at a shared table, the woman seated there quickly pulled her purse closer and muttered something about it being taken. At another table, a man avoided eye contact entirely, pretending to be deeply absorbed in his phone. Rejection didn't come loudly. It came in small, sharp gestures that cut deeper each time. Her throat tightened, but she forced herself not to cry. She had promised herself she wouldn't break down in public again. Taking a slow breath, she stepped aside, pretending to check her phone, though the screen was dark. The truth was, she had nowhere else to go, not today. This cafe had been her small hope for a moment of rest, a place to sit without being judged. But even here, she felt invisible and unwanted. Just as she turned slightly toward the door, ready to leave, before her dignity slipped further, a gentle voice interrupted her thoughts. "Excuse me," it said, calm and kind. She looked up, surprised, and saw a man sitting at a small table by the window. A little girl, no older than 6, sat across from him, swinging her legs and sipping from a cup with both hands. The man gave her a reassuring smile, not the kind people give out of pity, but one that felt real. "You can sit with us," he added, gesturing to the empty chair beside him. For a second, she wasn't sure she had heard him correctly. No one had offered her anything, all even a seat. I don't want to bother you," she replied softly, her voice almost lost in the cafe noise. The little girl leaned forward with bright curiosity and said, "It's okay. We have space." The simplicity of her words carried more warmth than the entire room had offered so far. Something shifted inside her, then something fragile but hopeful. Slowly, she walked toward their table, each step uncertain, yet drawn by the kindness she hadn't expected to find. As she sat down, she felt the tension in her shoulders ease just a little. For the first time that day, she wasn't standing alone. She sat down slowly, almost as if the chair might disappear beneath her, her hands still gripping her bag, as though it were the only thing keeping her grounded. For a moment, none of them spoke. The noise of the cafe continued around them, but at that small table by the window, there was a quiet pause, gentle, not uncomfortable. "I'm Ion," the man said finally, his voice calm and steady. He offered a small, respectful smile, not asking questions, not demanding explanations. "And this is my daughter, Matt." The little girl beamed, her eyes bright with innocent curiosity. "Hi, do you like cake?" "Baba got chocolate cake, but I can share." She pushed the plate slightly forward, without hesitation, as if kindness was the most natural thing in the world. The woman blinked, caught off guard. No one had offered her anything in a long time, not even a simple smile. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice trembling just a little. She hesitated before taking a small piece, almost afraid she didn't deserve it. Ion noticed everything. The way her fingers shook, the way she avoided eye contact, the quiet exhaustion in her posture. But he didn't ask what had happened to her. Instead, he simply signaled the waiter and ordered another cup of tea. "It's on me," he said gently, when she tried to protest. "Everyone deserves a place to sit and a warm cup." Those words hit her harder than she expected. She lowered her gaze, blinking quickly to hide the tears forming in her eyes. "You don't even know me," she whispered. Ion leaned back slightly, his tone thoughtful. "I don't have to," he replied. "Sometimes people just need someone to say, 'You're welcome here.' That's enough." Mayher nodded seriously, as if she fully agreed. "Baba says we should be kind, because we never know who's having a sad day." That was it, the small sentence that broke through the wall she had built around herself. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. She quickly wiped it away, embarrassed. But neither Ion nor Mayher reacted in a way that made her feel ashamed. Instead, they simply sat with her, as if her emotions were allowed to exist. For the first time in what felt like forever, she spoke honestly. "I didn't think anyone would let me sit today," she admitted quietly. Ion gave a soft smile. "Then, I'm glad you didn't leave." And somehow, in that simple moment, overshared cake and warm tea, the world didn't feel quite as cold anymore. The cafe felt different now, because the people had changed, but because her place in it had. She no longer stood on the outside looking in, sitting at that small table by the window, with a warm cup of tea in her hands, and the soft chatter of Mehar beside her. Something inside her began to settle. The tight knot in her chest loosened, replaced by a quiet sense of belonging she hadn't felt in a long time. Mehar was telling her an enthusiastic story about her school, her tiny hands moving animatedly as she spoke. "And then I told my teacher, I want to be a doctor, or maybe a baker, or maybe both." She giggled. The woman couldn't help but smile. Real smile this time, not the forced one she had been wearing all day. "You can be anything," she said gently, her voice steadier now. Ion watched the interaction quietly, a faint warmth in his eyes. He noticed how her posture had changed. She was sitting a little straighter now, her shoulders no longer weighed down by the invisible burden she had carried in. It was as if being seen, even just for a little while, had given her strength. After a pause, she finally spoke again, more openly this time. "I lost my job last month," she admitted. "Things haven't been easy. Today, I just needed somewhere to sit, somewhere to feel normal again." She let out a soft, shaky breath. "But I didn't expect this." Ion nodded, not with pity, but with understanding. "Life can turn unexpectedly," he said. "But one bad chapter doesn't decide the whole story." She looked at him, surprised by the simplicity and truth of his words. "Why did you help me?" she asked, her voice quieter now, but no longer fragile, just curious. Ion glanced at Mehar, who was now carefully finishing the last bite of cake. "Because one day," he said, "I might be the one needing a seat at someone else's table, and I'd hope someone would make space for me too." The words stayed with her. They weren't grand or dramatic, but they meant something real. As she stood to leave, she hesitated, then smiled softly at both of them. "Thank you for reminding me I still belong somewhere." Mehar waved excitedly. "Come again. We'll get to cakes." Ion gave a small nod. "Take care of yourself." She stepped out of the cafe, the cool air brushing against her face. But this time, it didn't feel harsh. It felt refreshing. The world outside hadn't changed, but she had. And sometimes, all it takes is one kind invitation to remind someone they're not invisible after all.